Hello, so this week we are talking about texture. So we're going to make our own leaves using things that have real texture to make a texture rubbing, which creates implied texture. So here's an example. For this project, you're going to want a piece of paper, a pencil, and an eraser. I have a black marker so I can outline so it's easier to color in. You're going to want crowns, and then you're going to want to find some things that have texture. You can look around where you're at to try to find things. You can even go outside to try to find things that have texture. I looked around my room and I found some old cardboard that I'm going to use. I found these popsicle sticks that I'm going to lay underneath my paper to make texture. And then normally I would go outside and use the pavement, but since I'm in my classroom, I have a texture sheet that is almost like if I was to go outside and use like the street or the sidewalk, because that has a lot of texture as well. So I'm going to move this stuff out of the way because we want to start with drawing our leaf, and we want it to be big as our entire paper. So what I like to do is over in the corner, I like to start out with a rectangle. Like that. So that is going to be the stem of my leaf. And then I like to make them look the same on both sides. So I will start to come out and then kind of just using a wavy line, I go out and then I come back in. You can make the shape of your leaf different if you would like. That is okay. So I added 1, 2, 3, and then my top of my leaf. So now I'm going to come to the other side and try to draw the same shapes to match it. There are a lot of different styles of leaves. I just think this is kind of one of the easier ones to draw. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a line from the bottom of my stem and I'm going to make it a little bit wavy going up to the top. And then I can go from the edges of my leaf and come down to that line like this, and that'll create all new sections for me. So if you remember, we started out with our rectangle, and then I used a wavy line to go up, over, and down, up, over, and down, and then I repeated that, and then I tried to make it look the same on the other side. I'm going to outline this now. And then I will erase my pencil lines that are sticking out, and then we will move on to our next step. So I'm going to keep outlining this, get those pencil lines erased, and then we will start with our texture rubbings. So I have this all outlined, and I went back and erased my pencil lines. Now what I want to do is I want to pick out what colors I want for my leaf. And I think I'm going to stick to warm colors because it almost looks like a fall time sort of leaf. And that is whenever the leaves start to change colors into oranges and yellows and reds and browns. So that is what I'm going to pull out, and then we will start our texture rubbing. So I'm going to pull out the colors that I want to use, and then we'll move on and work on our texture rubbings. So I pulled out a few crowns. You want to use crowns for this. You could use colored pencils as well, but crowns work a lot better for texture rubbings. So what you're going to do is place whatever has texture that you chose underneath your paper. And then you can start using your crown to draw on top, and it'll pick up that texture. So you can go around wherever you're at and see if you can find things that have textures. A lot of times, like brick walls have a lot of texture. If you can find any extra cardboard that has a lot of texture. Going outside is a good idea to get a lot of different textures. And so you want to use the different textures you found to make your texture rubbings on your leaves. So I have those two right there now. I can move it out of the way. And now I'm going to use the cardboard that I found, and I'm going to work on 2 more, placing this cardboard underneath where I'm coloring in, and then picking out what color I want, and then drawing on top. And you can see that texture starting to show up, like that. So I'm going to color this section in red, You could even use more than one color if you wanted to like layer colors for your texture rubbing. That's definitely an option as well. This is why I like to add the outline, because it's really easy to get outside the lines while you're doing a texture rubbing. So I think adding that outline helps a lot with coloring it in. And maybe I'll do one right here. Sometimes while you're working on it, you might have to move whatever underneath your paper a little bit if it's not big enough for what you're coloring in. I do that sometimes too. So I'm going to get this all colored in, and then we'll move on to using our popsicle sticks for the last of our texture rubbings. Now I have these all flat, and I'm going to lay my paper on top, and they might move a little bit, but that's okay. That's just going to make more texture on here. And then I'm going to pick which color I want to use. I think I want to use this yellow for this one. And again, I'm coloring right on top, and you can see a few of those lines from these starting to show up. But that's what you're going to do for texture rubbing. You lay something that has real texture underneath your paper, and then you color on top of it, and then you can get an implied texture. So I'm going to keep going to get the rest of my spots colored in, and then we will be finished. But you want to try to find as many different textures as you can find. I know whenever you're at certain places it might be harder than other places, but I try to use things that hopefully you'll be able to find laying around as well. So I'm going to get the rest of this colored in, and then we will be finished. And just like that, we are done. I cannot wait to see what y'all create, and I will see you all next time. Have a wonderful rest of your morning, your evening, your afternoon. Bye.